cranked up for Halo 3. Chug it and have no mercy.
In the early days of Halo multiplayer, there were many imitators, bragging about how their game was different from Halo, hell, even boasting they were better than Halo, dubbing themselves the Halo Killer. And though those franchises ultimately failed, and the only thing that caused the franchise to lose its luster was its own lackluster entries, there was one series that could have successfully been called a Halo Killer, sparking a massive debate between gamers of the separate factions of the industry. A little indie title known as Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Though the industry has changed drastically since 2007, Call of Duty has consistently been the best-selling game every year since its release, beating sales-breaking records year over year. However, in their complacency, a shift occurred amongst gamers, and dissatisfaction settled in as mediocre experiences and dissonance from their fans' wants and needs plagued the series. The series needed reinvention, reinvigoration. Repeating history wasn't working, and sequel baiting just left a bad taste in players' mouths. The series needed something exciting, something new, something modern.
Bravo 6, going dark.
Players loved the reinvention of the series, jumping to a new engine for the first time in almost a decade. This brought new momentum to the franchise. Improved visuals, enhanced AI, impressive gunplay, and frenetic, fast-paced modern combat approaching a realistic vision that hadn't been attempted by the studio since COD 4. Though the game didn't escape all of its criticism, with poor map design, overly complex progression for weapon leveling and camo unlocks, audio design, and rewarding camping gameplay styles more aggressively than before, players still found a lot to enjoy from the game, with sales being the highest they've been up to that point, soaring player counts that saw veteran players return to the franchise, and the inclusion of the latest industry trend, Battle Royale. This wasn't Call of Duty's first foray into the genre, as they attempted a mediocre experience with Blackout and Black Ops 4. But Warzone was something different, something fresh and invigorating. It was what the Battle Royale genre hadn't seen much of at this point. A AAA, polished, high-skill game with the mechanics of a traditional Call of Duty. And in a surprise move, it was free to play for gamers everywhere, even if they didn't own Modern Warfare. To say this was hyped is an understatement. Fans clamored for this upon release, with retention rates high and some of the biggest streamers in the world playing it to this day. Even with map revisions, 3 game cycles having run its course, weapon implementation, and several seasons, Warzone is one of the biggest games in the world, with a sequel released following the trend of the vicious Call of Duty cycle that disillusioned fans years ago. In the years leading up to Warzone, it was noted that the franchise had lost all momentum, that it was stuck in a loop that couldn't be broken out of that caused fans to jump ship and try other games out, inevitably starting the debate of what would be the COD killer. Would it be Titanfall? Brink? Or Fortnite? Okay, Fortnite has some basis there. With its reinvention, one could say that there is no COD killer, that the franchise got out of its rut and became something more, something better, and that it would stand the test of time as one of gaming's most important series. But, since Warzone's release, things have changed. There's a shift in the community. After the launch of Warzone, numbers for player retention for the multiplayer Modern Warfare dropped drastically. Upon Black Ops Cold War release, it sold incredibly well, but reviewed poorly, with common criticism being how Treyarch's flavor and styling, once beloved by the community for its originality and differing takes from Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward, wasn't enough like Modern Warfare. Fans hated the multiplayer, and the implementation into Warzone was rough. Vanguard was lambasted even worse, with criticisms for the multiplayer, though very similar to Modern Warfare and running on the same hardware, being even more intense. At the same time of Vanguard's release, the teams worked together to build a new map for Warzone called Caldera to fit the aesthetics of Vanguard in their World War II settings, and players widely panned it for poor optimization and weak design, with its openness and foliage being the key criticisms. Players dropped drastically in the wake of the update for multiplayer, with a third of the player base still playing the game just a month after release.
You had to kill him. The boy cries you a sweater of tears, and you kill him.
The series used to keep players on the hook for months to a year, waiting to get their next fix in the next installment, but retention has gone down, and players are focused on Warzone instead of the traditional arcade shooter. What happened? Did the franchise lose its luster so soon after being reinvigorated? One game's criticism was straying too far from Modern Warfare, the other for being too similar and not changing it up enough. And after a camo grind, most players move on back to the grindstone of Warzone. What is it about Warzone that makes it more appealing than the games of old? Would Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3 have suffered the same fate if they were released alongside Warzone? It's been heavily debated for over a decade what would be the Call of Duty killer, the game in a franchise that would pull players away from the series without batting an eye, sinking hundreds of hours into. Who would have thought, after 20 years of entries, the only Call of Duty killer would be Call of Duty.